Right, Pioneer PL510A, next vintage piece of gear up for review. Let me slide that over a little bit. This one is my turntable. I actually got it from my stepdad, and this was my second turntable ever. And this is when I got back into vinyl, not like when I was a kid. My wife bought me a turntable Audio Technica for Christmas 6 years ago, and really enjoyed listening to vinyl on that. And then I found this in a tote at my mom's house, and this kind of was the beginning of the whole, hey, let's find some of this old gear and repair it or restore it or modify it or whatever we're going to do with it. So this was kind of the gateway for me into doing what I do as a hobby now. So Pioneer PL510A, when I pulled it out of the tote, the dust cover was destroyed, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what I've done. This was the subject of one repair video where I replaced this metal piece here because all of the lettering had rubbed off. But these are great turntables. The other work that I did to this was I replaced that really crappy, like tissue thin vinyl veneer. It's just horrible veneer with real wood veneer. This was the first thing I ever veneered. Didn't do a great job. Sorry, I'm getting text. The second I start recording, I get a text. Didn't do a great job, but it was the first one. Learned a lot, and it doesn't look too bad. But on to the turntables. So these were manufactured between 76 and 78. This is a direct drive turntable. The series that it belonged to, kind of, Pioneer, they were just cranking out turntables left and right in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. So, but this one's kind of an anomaly. So you have the lower end turntables, such as the PL 112, 115, and 117. You had the high end turntables, the PL 530, 550, and 570. And then kind of stuck right in the middle was the 510A. The 112, 115, 117 were belt drive. The 530, 550, 570 were direct drive. This one, it's like a combination of the low end and the high end. So this puts it right in the middle. Direct drive, decent plinth. It shares, this top plate is very consistent with like the 117, 115. The feet are upgraded on this, more consistent with the 530, 550, 570, although they're not the same feet, they're kind of more consistent with it. So this was middle of the road. This was a middle of the road turntable. And I'll be honest with you, I think these are sleepers. I think these are phenomenal turntables. This performs wonderfully. And I didn't really do anything to it other than re-veneer it and clean the speed controls. That's kind of it. So as you can see, this is traditional late 70s Pioneer. This is a dust cover that I think I bought or I found or whatever. I don't know. I came across it somehow. So late 70s Pioneer. As far as using one of these goes, they're really easy to use, really easy to set up. I don't have a cartridge on here. I just pulled this out of rotation. This was in my living room for quite a while. And I pulled this out just to I just like to change stuff up from time to time. So this was running an Audio Technica VM530EN that I wanted to use on the turntable that was going to replace it. So I popped that off there. As I said, setup is really easy. It does have, I guess these aren't, the feet really aren't spring-loaded, but they are kind of flexible. I know you can't really see what I'm doing here, but you can kind of move the feet a little bit so they do have a little bit of give to them. To use this turntable, right, number one, you have a strobe, which I really like, so you can make sure that the speed is dialed in. because there's no cartridge on there. Flip to the back. Anti-skate, this is the magnetic type anti-skate. The pitch control pots or speed adjustment pots are here, 33 and 45. Getting to these underneath is really simple. The top basically just comes off. There are some long screws in here if I remember, and the top kind of will flip back and then you can gain access to all the controls. 33 and a 45 speed selector button. The way this works is it's in the off position, then you move it to the on and up position that turns the turntable on. And then the tone arm elevator will lift the tone arm, and then you move it into position and you hit down and you listen to a record. Now this is 100% manual, so at the end of the record, at least you don't have to grab it, right? It has this elevator. You just pop it back to off or on and up, depending on what you're gonna do, and then move the tone arm over and you can flip the record, change the record, whatever it is you are intending to do at that point in time. Serviceability on these, pretty easy. Again, this was one of the very first turntables I worked on in terms of restoration, if you want to call it that, restoration, repair. I did not find it particularly difficult to work with. Getting to the pots was easy. Even replacing this, I'll call it, it's not really an arm board, but this piece of metal here, once I found one, that was pretty easy and it's pretty easy to disassemble. If you were thinking about getting into one of these, and again, I think these are phenomenal turntables. I think they look really good. Now, the veneer on these, if you come across one, most likely the veneer is going to be trashed. But I literally just went and bought 2-inch veneer from like my home improvement store, and I peeled the old stuff off, put this on. It was super simple, and it improved the look, you know, in an afternoon, really. You know, other than applying the finish, and I think I just did a walnut stain. This is walnut, and then I put some hand white poly or something on it, probably 6 or 7 coats. So if you're looking for one of these, things to look out for. So if you don't want to do that, make sure that the veneer is in good shape, and it's going to be hard to find one that's going to have the veneer in good shape because this stuff would rip just by you looking at it. You know, the Pioneer Batcher, although they made a lot of these, you can find those fairly easily. Make sure it has that. So the dust covers on these weren't the most durable. Most of the dust covers for these that I've seen on eBay are scratched. The series, all of the turntables that have the same dust cover, it's not super cheap, not like a Kenwood dust cover from this era, but it's not as robust or durable as some of the other Pioneer dust covers that you could come across, especially from the early 70s things. You can buy aftermarket dust covers, I believe, for this, like through J&B Audio. You have to check what they offer. But I would make sure that the dust cover's there. Make sure, you know, the head shell is there. That can be an additional expense, you know, and then it's just kind of normal turntable things. The counterweight, the tone arm clasp. I've come across a lot of 112s, 115s, 117s with whatever tone arm clasp they're using, it's broken. So when not the arm rest itself, but the actual clasp that locks it in position. So make sure that that is there. That's a really easy one to miss. You know, the button covers and the knobs and all those things, I think those would be relatively easy to find. I don't think you're going to have to wait forever to come across one of those. So really, that's what I would look for. Just make sure that it looks good, because chances are you can sort it out. Now, I have not come across, well, I'll be honest with you, I've only come across one other 510As. So I don't know if they suffer from any common issues. Like I'm not sure how reliable the motor is, direct drive motor. I would assume it's a motor that was used in other turntables. I don't know of any recurring or consistent issues with these. But again, I have a very limited data set to go off of. So as far as if you pick one of these up, other than sorting out whatever it's missing and cleaning the pots, is there anything else you should do? I really don't know. I really don't know that, recapping anything that can be recapped on this would be worth your while. Or anything, I guess, you must do to keep this operational. Prices on these. So prices on these actually aren't all that crazy. I mean, I'm sure at the time I edit the video, if I find a kind of a crazy listing where somebody wants like $1,300 for one of these or something like that, I'll post it. But when I did the research for this video, I didn't find any crazy listings for these. All of the listings that I found were consistent with the sold listings. What would you expect to pay for one of these as of the day that I did the research for the video? Finding one of these that's in restored condition. Let's say it's either got the veneer intact or maybe someone did a good job. Maybe they replaced, right, the actual plinth with solid wood or something like that. You're looking at probably $350 or more, right? So clean dust cover, head shell, no scratches, veneer's intact or it's been modified in some way. One thing about these, the other thing to look out for, and I forgot about this, was the lettering. The lettering here is really, really, it is not durable, right? So you can wipe this off really easily. Just hit that with some Windex and you're going to remove it. So that's the other thing to look out for. Make sure that you can see the lettering here. And I think actually a lot of the lettering on these, if you look, it's usually missing around this knob. So I think people just got lazy and they would rub the silk screen back and forth as they're manipulating the control for the turntable, and that would rub off. So the lettering on this is going to be really important. Someone used to sell like a lettering kit, but it was years ago. I don't know if they still do that. If they do, I'll post an image of what that looks like. But I remember on eBay, somebody had like little stickers you can put on here or something. It was kind of weird. So anyway, really good shape like this one, $350. And I think that's a hell of a deal on this turntable. If you can get one of these for $350 in this shape, man, I would do it. I would do it all day long. These are just great turntables. So one that's in working condition or typical condition where the dust cover is going to be a little beat up, the veneer is going to be a little bit beat up as well, missing, probably in the $250 range. And then to get one of these that's either, beat to hell or maybe the speed is inconsistent because the pots need to be clean, missing a head shell, maybe missing a counterweight or some knob covers, buttons, whatever. Less than $150, I think, is a good price for one of these. Again, I think these are excellent deals. I think these are excellent turntables, and I'm not saying that because there's any sentimental value. Again, I grabbed it out of a tote, right? And just got it up and running. So they're phenomenal turntables. And again, with just a little bit of work, you can turn it into something that's really, really kind of nice. Again, I for my first reveneer, I think I did an okay job on this one. So they're not going to break the bank. You can get into one at a decent price, and if you're willing to put in a little bit of work, you could have a really nice turntable at the end of the day. Or if you come across one that's in decent shape, you're not going to pay a premium on these. They're kind of sleeper turntables. Now, do they have anything special, like any special damping? Or are they on springs? I mean, there's a little bit of shock resistance there, but it's pretty stiff. It's not like an AR or a Thorens or anything like that, but you do have, right, a little bit of protection against vibration. You could probably upgrade the feet a little bit to make it a little bit better. Maybe put some isolation pods, or don't remove the feet, but just buy some of those Hudson Hi-Fi hemispheres and set it on there if you're worried about vibration. But great turntables. Great turntables. I'm pulling this out of the rotation, again, just out of boredom more than anything. It'll go back in its normal spot at some point in time once I've, got bored with whatever I replaced it with. But great turntables. I think they're bargains. I think they're sleepers. If you can get into one at the right price, I would pull the trigger on it all day long. So I think that'll wrap it up for the PL510A. Again, I kind of did this one just because it's like a target of opportunity. I thought I would knock this review out real quick. But great turntables. So as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.